Ladies and gentlemen, Seahawks and football fans everywhere, a very warm welcome back to the We Talk Seahawks podcast. I hope you are all doing well as per. If you listened to the podcast last week, you'll have noticed that Pez came down with a quite severe case of statilitis. But I think something has came into my household over the past couple of weeks, and it's really taken me quite hard. It's hitting me quite hard. I can't really find a remedy for it at the minute, but I think the doctor said it's something called sing-along-alitis, something like that.
Jesus.
Because this team keeps on winning, Jim Boy is going to keep on singing. So take it away, Frank Sinatra. Start spreading the news.
No, that's it. We're done.
The Seahawks is here to stay.
Never butcher that.
We've made a brand new start of it. Fuck off, New York. Hey, there we go. Get that on your Spotify playlist, everyone. That's our copyright strike of the week.
So sorry.
Out there. No, you're not sorry. You're not sorry. Nobody's sorry. Geno's not sorry. His postman's not sorry. Nobody's sorry. We are 5-3, Super Bowl bound. This is getting stupid now. The Geno Revenge Tour has taken its latest victim on Halloween's Eve. Oh man, I can't. I'm running out of words. I'm not running out of ways to start the podcast because I'll just come up with a different song every week, as long as we keep winning. But I'm just running out of words. 27-13 against the 6-1 Giants. I mean, if you'd have told me a couple of weeks ago, if you'd have told me 3 weeks ago, right, that the Seahawks would have a stretch of the Cardinals, the Chargers, and the Giants, and someone said to me, "Oh yeah, you'll go 3-0, and you'll beat the Chargers in LA comfortably. You'll beat the Cardinals. You'll beat the Giants at home. The 6-1 Giants at home pretty comfortably." I mean, what is going on? I don't know. I don't care. We're loving it. This Seahawks team is brilliant. Pez, how are you, mate? I think you've had a pretty good week as well, haven't you?
Yeah. It's been a good weekend. It was my birthday on Sunday. So I went to London for the weekend with my wife. Went on to the Wembley game. That was quite fun. Good to just walk around with my Seahawks jersey. Got the wife. She bought me a Dallas, as we spoke about on this podcast. Bought me a Dallas Wolf grey jersey. I was quite surprised by that. She did a good job. So she stuck that on. I had my Ken Walker one, and we just walked around. Big smiles on our faces because all the Denver fans probably looked at us and just wished what they could have had. Yeah, it's funny though because I said to you off air, but bumped into two Americans going up back up to the lakes where they lived. I found it quite strange. A guy from Denver, a guy from West Virginia, living in the lakes in England. I was like, what? I thought like they might have just been going to Manchester Airport or something. No, we live here. Lived here for 5 years. I was like, Jesus. But one was a Denver fan, and you wanted to see how like he wasn't even excited. They just won.
Yeah.
Like he was just asking me questions about like, is it true what everyone's saying with Ross? Is what's going on? This, that, and the other. From your opinion, I was just like, wow, you've just won, and so like downbeat. I was like, I was shocked, but fuck them.
Josh, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Just come back from a long-ish, a very long weekend up in the northwest of England, up in Pez's neck of the woods, but. The man ran away as soon as he heard I was coming up there. Couldn't even go and see him. Gutted, absolutely gutted. But yeah, good. Managed to watch the game on Sunday, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting into this. Just straight back into it. Holiday is not a holiday when it comes straight back into work, but then I get to see you boys straight after, so I can deal with that.
Stop it!
Isn't that flirting with us?
Was that flirting or filleting?
I hope
because your accent.
Fellatio.
Yeah,
we'll go with flirting.
Again,
flirting.
The man who tries to tell me that I'm making this podcast sexual has already come up with fellatio. What, 5 minutes in? Brilliant. Right.
Welcome.
Geno Smith, as always. We'll start with him.
Welcome to the Sexy Seahawks podcast.
I buried that then, and he's reeled it back in. Just leave it now. Right.
All right, and we had to put it with your singing. All right.
Hey, putting up is an interesting way of describing it. I would say enjoying, but well, I've had some good feedback already. A few agents have got in touch. Anyway, a few agents will be getting in touch with Geno Smith as well.
Collection
this offseason.
agents.
Yeah, kill it, I'd leave mine.
What copyright infringement? Carry on. Sorry.
Thank you.
Right, back on track.
Back on track. Geno Smith, we're going to start with that man because there's only one place to start on this podcast. Ken Walker, the future Hall of Famer himself. We've got to get onto him. An interesting day in the receiving department. Tyler Lockett's not his best day, but he brought it back home towards the end. We'll talk about him. Tight ends as well.
Shows how underrated he is.
Shows how underrated he is indeed,
Pez.
Tight ends struggled to get involved, but yet we still put up 27. That's a very, very interesting little nugget there that we'll get into. And then we'll give some of the special team guys some love because they've been coming up with some big players in recent weeks after having a bit of a rocky start to the season. And then we'll get to the defense. We'll try and talk about as many of them as we can, but we probably won't have time to because they're all just playing so well at the minute, which is really nice to hear and to say after again another rocky start from the defense. But they are turning a corner, man, and we'll gush over them. And then we'll get to your questions. And as always, positive Pez to finish. But it feels like we're doing a disservice to Geno because I don't know. It'll probably be a pretty quick segment, this, but that is that is praising Geno in itself by making it a quick because I have no further words to add on Geno. Like 23 for 34 on the attempts, 212 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I mean, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I don't have any more words to describe Geno Smith than it's just baffling. Another week gone by where we haven't come down from cloud nine. We haven't woken up from this dream yet. As we all continue to think that at some point it must go wrong. It must go wrong. Well, another week it hasn't gone wrong. How much longer will it continue? Who cares? Who knows? We can't wait to find out. But my God, he's just balling again. I mean, 23 for 34 against a 6-1 Giants team. I know it's the Giants, but look, they're 6-1 for a reason. And he didn't look uncomfortable at any point in the game. He, again, former team, easy to potentially emotions get in the way of it, potentially getting. He was like, nah, cool as a cucumber. Just went out there, did his business, took what the defense gave him, as he's been doing all season, and made some absolutely big time throws. Again, facing the blitz, he was calm under the pressure. He got his head taken off by Xavier McKinney, but thankfully he was all right. But yeah, I mean, you guys can help me out as always, but I'm just lost for words. I don't have any more words for Geno Smith.
He just, for me, it's every challenge gets put in front of him. He just jumps over it.
Yeah.
Still not going to apologise to him because I feel like it'll be a curse. I will find him a new milestone. In his goal, his new milestone is go 5-0 by the bye week. 2 more games, Geno. That's all you've got. Prove me wrong. Come on, prove me wrong. But with this game being said, he faced a career high of 19 pressures this game. Still 23 for 34, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, still no interceptions, and he had an extra touchdown drop, what we will get onto, what you alluded to before, like literally walking. You're still shocked now, scratching your head, trying to figure out how did Tyler, safe hands, not corral that in. But what's interesting here with Geno, for me, like you said, you've not got much more to say about him, is a career high of 19 pressures. For me, and I know Josh will sit back, put it on mute, let him go to town on that O-line. But that's surprising, really, because that's low. That's low. So for the just kind of like diverting onto the O-line a little bit is for how well they've been doing, and probably you'd say their weakest game this season as a unit. Obviously, Blythe went out, Fuller came in, and if anyone wants to question, if anything, it just shows if if people go, what does Austin Blythe actually do?
Yeah.
Today showed it.
Said it last week, didn't I?
We all said it. Community, go and watch anyone again. Go and watch his mic'd up from a couple of games ago. You might say, bang average. Go and watch what he brings to this team away from playing. He's a leader. He's a born leader. And Geno, them two clearly, Geno relies so much on him. You see it in all the All Access, all the videos you see, Geno, you can just see how Geno interacts with him. He has pure faith in his right-hand man, essentially, on that line to protect him, to do the right calls, do the right thing. But 19 pressures is freaking low, man. Like, so for me, it's like, yeah, Geno, just keep on doing what you do, mate. But it shows how well the old line's been like working.
Yeah. Well, Gabe Jack, just as we're on the O-line, Gabe Jackson in this game, saying that he allowed just one pressure in rotation with Phil Haynes. So Jackson finished with the best grade on the offensive line. That's an interesting one because, again, from the eyesight, I didn't particularly think the offensive line played particularly well. But I guess that's just to the standards that they've started to set. Obviously, we all know what bad offensive line looks like in Seattle, and it is a lot better than what it used to be 2, 3, 4 years ago. But it did feel like it was a bit of a down game for the offensive line. But then you look at the stats and you look at the PFF grades, and again, your man Josh Abe Lucas is still balling out there. I think was 0 pressures for him this week as well. Like they are playing really well.
It's just I mean, if we just, I'll wait to gush on the O-line until later. But the whole Geno's play, and this is something that I think a lot of people berated Pete Carroll for this in the off-season, where he said, I just want a point guard quarterback who isn't going to do anything too flashy. He is going to distribute the ball where I need it to be, and he is going to follow the game plan and just release our playmakers. And Geno's doing that. He's not trying to do too much with his legs. He's escaping when he needs to. He's making some valuable first downs and getting some valuable yardage. But I mean, the guy's I say it every pod, and I feel really bad for, contradicting it earlier, but he's just efficient. Like he's making the right throws into the right. He's putting some good throws into tight windows as well. He's taking those chances. So you can't just say he's taking the safe option every time. Was it last week he threw one to triple coverage that was just dropped by Noah Fant, but he should have caught that one. The dude is just, I mean, I'm lost for. I'm never lost for words, but whenever I see him, I'm like Pez. I'm waiting for the downfall. I'm waiting for something to go wrong, but it's not going wrong yet, and it makes me wonder: have we all just doubted Geno's ability for this long? Has it taken this long for him to mature? Has he spent time behind quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers, like Eli Manning and Russell Wilson? He's just learned from his mistakes. He's learned he can't be gung-ho. He can't just loft the ball 60 yards every time and like just sort of hit and hope stuff. He's now become one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL over this first stretch of games this season. And it really is baffling. I'm happy to be baffled by it, but I still can't get my head around it.
No,
I'm still trying to compute it. It'll take me a while. It'll probably take me to the bye week, so I can actually take some time to dissect what he's done and how he's done it to really appreciate it. At the moment, I'm just appreciating watching him ball out every week.
Oh, it is a joy to watch at this point, and as I've said last week and the week before that, I think he's been massively helped by the play calling and Shane Waldron. I love the ballsiness to go for it twice on the fourth downs in the first start of the game, and you get rewarded for it. You're able to punch it in, and before. For a lot of time in Seattle, we would have never have gone for it in those fourth down situations. You give Shane Waldron the reins to the offense, and you see it coming out and going for it on fourth down. I love it again. I love the tight end inclusive. And inclusion, even though they struggled a little bit against the Giants, 36 yards in total across Disley, Fant, and Parkinson, which I think is probably around about a season low. But to still have that, and obviously we know the tight ends have been such a big part of the offense, so to take that away and still put up 27 points is brilliant. And I think I'll just make a quick little prediction for Shane Waldron. I think we're looking at Pete Carroll's successor, in my opinion.
That's a debate, my friend. That is a debate for us to have.
It's a debate.
That's a debate. Sorry, just put it in your notes, James, for the bye week.
It's a good debate for the bye week,
and we'll get that in on the bye week, and we'll have
get that in there.
Good sit down and talk about that.
So I'm just going to plant that seed now. After recent weeks, I think we all thought that it was going to be Sean Desai. I think Pez, you potentially mentioned it at first, coming in with that assistant head coach role, and potentially Josh as well. Yeah, Sean Desai coming in maybe. But I don't know. I think Shane Waldron is maybe now being primed to come into a head coaching role in the near future whenever Pete Carroll decides to step down. So yes, Pez, we will definitely get into that into the bye week.
Just quickly, what you said about the tight ends and how the Giants managed to stop them. So teams are probably going to start doing this. I'd imagine they're going to start trying to phase out the tight end, but the issue is there's not much. I don't think there's a defense that we have to come up against off the top of my mind who'd be able to phase out the tight end and then contain DK and Tyler. This is the issue. Like, you go and stop the tight ends, go and take Geno's safety valve, but then you're just unleashing a bigger monster on you that's going to take the top off you, and they're just going to bomb you out. Like, Geno now is just full ball, full range. Them tight ends are if Lockett and DK are getting double covered and he doesn't want to go deep. So bring it up nearer to the box, stop them tight ends, but then DK or Tyler are going to get loose.
But again, this game, Geno threw to 9 different targets. Fair play, 3 of them got single yards on receptions, but that's 9 different ways that Geno can release the ball. If you're a defensive team, you're going to be looking at that and going, the last 3 games on average, he's thrown to, I think it is an average of like 9 receivers. If you're a DC on the other team, you're going to go, and other people have said this, it's a pick your poison offense. It's a right. So who are we supposed to look after now? Because if we look after DK and Tyler by doubling them with safeties and corners, then they've got these tight ends that can come through the middle into those gaps. They've got a slot receiver in either Dwayne Eskridge maybe or Marquise Goodwin who can take the top off it. They've got the running backs that can come out. You've got your Travis Homer and DJ Dallas, who are great receiving sort of running backs. Ken Walker's shown that he has got hands, contrary to what a lot of people say. He can catch a ball as well. It really is pick your poison. No one knows where it's going to come from. And it's that type of offense that's going to win you a game because it keeps the defense guessing. They don't know where the ball's going to go to. If you're a team who has one good receiver and a good running back, well, guess who you've got to mark? Because 9 times out of 10, it's going to go there. Whereas we've got possibly the best receiving tandem in the NFL next to Waddle and Hill. We've got 3 tight ends that can do the business and all have a different skill set. Although I'm still waiting to see more from Noah Fant.
Yeah.
And then you've got the wide receivers that are backups to the first 2, and you've got our running back core, all of which have proven they can catch now.
I think it's a really interesting point that you bring up there, Pez, because and I hate to link it back to this man Russell Wilson, but I'm going to just for now. We've got 3 ways to win. Is that the siren? Oh dear, I've been sirened.
That's it. You've been found out.
I've been siren now, so it's I've got nothing else to lose, so I'll quickly wrap this up, Pez, because I know you don't like hearing this man's name. There's 3 ways for us to win on offense now, as you've said, Pez. We've got the tight ends. If that's not working, you've got the running game. If that's not working, you've got some excellent receivers that are coming good. With Russ, we all knew, didn't target tight end. So instantly, you only had 2 ways to win a game of football on offense. If you didn't have a running game, then, because Chris Carson was banged up, Rashad Penny was banged up. So a lot of the times with Russ in recent years, we struggled to really put a consistent run game together. So then we only had 1 way to win offensive games, and that was to throw it to DK Metcalf down the sidelines, or to Lockett down the sidelines. And our offense, as we've all said on this podcast, became too stagnant, too predictable. Now, with Shane Waldron coming in, former tight ends coach, he's including the tight ends. He's got a quarterback in Geno Smith who is tall enough and big enough to see over the offensive line and to throw at tight ends. He's comfortable throwing at tight ends. So instantly with Geno, we've got more ways to win. We're coming in and approaching every game, regardless of who the opponent is, regardless of how good the defense is. We're coming into every game offensively with more ways to win games than potentially we did with Russell Wilson. So I think
we're more dynamic. That's simple.
More dynamic. Yeah.
We're more dynamic. The way this offense is rolling at the moment is exactly what everyone dreamt of when Waldron came in, and that was the 2018 Rams.
Yeah.
But I'm going to call it now. If we followed their trajectory to the Super Bowl, Geno's better than Jared Goff. Geno's better than Jared Goff.
100% at the moment, yeah.
In this situation, really, they remind me of the 2018 Rams, the running back, the beast running back, the short intermediate, dump offs, quick passing, all that kind of stuff. What they did, got them to the Super Bowl. And then Bill Belichick took it all away from him. He's like, right, okay, so you like to do this. Right, I'm just going to do that. And then you don't have a plan B. Whereas the upgrade to this is, it's almost like you said, with that dynamic at the moment, we've got plan A, B, C, and D at the moment because Geno just is playing with no fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
I think it's pretty indicative about the way we're playing by what Tyler Lockett said in that presser, where it was like, it's amazing. I'm going to paraphrase this because I've not got it up in front of me, but it's amazing what you can do when not one single person cares about winning, when sort of everyone cares. The team philosophy is that it doesn't matter who puts up 100 yards, who puts up 3 touchdowns. It's a matter of the team doing everything they can as a team to win. That shows the team's mentality now, and the only thing that you can use to explain that is that they're all now playing off the same hymn sheet. They all want to play for each other and play to win, as opposed to a single person going for these glorious moon balls and, having 500 yards a game.
Absolutely.
Right. So if we're in the conversation of this, like Tyler came out and said, you all need to chill because you're all trying to get a story out of it. Basically saying nothing to do. It's nothing to do with Russ. It wasn't aimed at Russ. It was just basically, like Josh said, Josh worded it better. Tyler didn't word it like that. Tyler worded it. It's like, isn't it great when one person isn't getting all the
credit,
all the credit,
yeah,
right? And my interpretation of what he said was, everyone jumped on it, as all Seahawks Twitter is at the moment. That's against Russ. Fucking hell, fuck you, Russ. They're like best mates still. Chill out. Take a back seat and calm the fuck down. I looked at it from the point of Tyler's basically coming out here and saying, because remember the things that Tyler came out and said last year, was it? When he was saying things that were totally against what everyone else was saying. And we said it on this pod, or I said it on this pod, people need to listen to what Tyler's saying because they're a lot more smarter. And to me, it shows he's getting a little bit sick and tired of things going. And this comment to me was, it was basically everyone wake the F up. Because I've said it in the past, seeing as we talk about this, Russ is as much to blame as Pete's to blame. Pete got too comfortable riding Russ and the way Russ wanted to play. Everything stagnated. We've said it in previous pods. Pete is not blameless just because of how we're playing right now. People need to keep that in the mind. He's not blameless. He got stagnant. That's why, James, you said it perfectly. That's why we became a one-dimensional team, because he just catered to Russ and rode Russ for what Russ was capable of doing. And last year you called it, James, and Josh, you mentioned it, that maybe Russ has just fallen off. And maybe that is the case. But all credit to Pete, whether he had a kick up his ass in the off-season or whether he did it all by himself. Don't believe he did it all by himself. I think he had a fucking firm Jody Allen foot up his ass and said, you sort your shit out now or you're bye-bye, mate. Because he has come into this thing fresh. Josh was right, giving the keys to Waldron by the looks of it. Waldron, it's not the case of, Waldron, this is how I want it done. You do as I tell you to do. It's now, this is what I want you to do. You devise the game plan, and then we'll do it together. Everything's cohesive now. Everything is a unit. And that's why this team is doing what they're doing. And honestly, I touch wood now, swear to God, this whole league better be fucking careful with how easy they are to look over the Seahawks and say, they'll fall off. This is just a beginner's luck. This is just a small fire. We'll put that out. We'll do this. We'll do that. Because people better be fucking careful, because this team, I really think, is here to stay. Because one thing about Pete Carroll is he can make, if he gets a group of guys like taking his pills and believing his shit, you better be careful about what that team is capable of. And I'm going to call it now, seeing as James is chucking out Waldron predictions. The Cardinals game, the Bucks games, the Rams games, none of them games matters to me, because the Cardinals aren't doing that good at the moment, the Bucks aren't, and the Rams aren't. The biggest game for this team to prove who they are, regardless of them results, is Kansas City on Christmas Eve.
That
You
looks
go
like
to
the
Kansas
big
City,
test, doesn't it? Yeah.
You go to Kansas City in their place and you play like you've been playing now, and you might not win, because let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still a lot of building blocks to be made here, but you stay with them, and this defense gets to Mahomes, shuts Mahomes down. Like I called, Woolen picks him off. Anyone picks him off, and they make it a really hard night for him, and they don't blow us out. Then people need to sit up and go, we need to pay attention to them lot, because next year they're going to be a fucking monster, let alone a beast.
Yeah, I'm fully with you, Pez. And what is undeniable is that this is a team that is playing for Geno Smith and this quarterback. And how good was it to see Geno Smith go straight back to Tyler Lockett after that drop in the end zone, after the fumble, and then the recovery by the Giants? How good was it to see? And not just the touchdown throw. He went to him on that drive before the touchdown throw, down
Exactly
to the sideline. Exactly the same play. And then that double move, as it was called out by Sanchez, the double move, and to lock it into the end zone.
How excited! Double move!
Double move!
Yeah.
I was like, who double? And then Lockett's there.
Yeah, no, who double move? The cameraman was like dreaming somewhere else, and he's like, double move! I'm like, what?
But then, because it was such an uncharacteristic day for Lockett up until that point. But I just love the fact that Geno went to him, looked him in the eye, and said, I'm coming back to you. So don't sit here and have your head down, because I need you out there, because I am coming to throw the ball back to you, however you like it or not. And Pete said he's the best receiver he's ever been around, and it's just it's a real feel good. It's a feel good vibe at the minute on offer. Everyone is pulling in the same direction, and it's working.
That is the prime what we just spoke about. Then that play, Waldron, Geno, Pete, everyone. That literally is the play you need to watch to understand what we've just spoke about this team. That is just indicative of what we've just spoke about, is how confident they all are. And my little bit on Tyler is everyone's riding him going, oh yeah, it's uncharacteristic, he didn't have a great day. To me, I think that's great and just shows how underrated Tyler Lockett really is, because you think about any of them little pissy ass spoiled brat wide receivers who had a day like Tyler Lockett, especially that in the bucket Tyler catch, perfect, what he does week in, week out, to then drop that. A lot of them pissy ass top quality receivers wouldn't even be asked being on the field anymore. That would be it. They mentally check out. For Tyler to then go back on the same play, to add a little bit extra, to evolve the play by himself, to have that mental strength to go, right, if we're running the same play, I need to change it up a little bit because he's going to be ready for this. So I'm going to double move him. I'm going to stunt him. Boom, gone. Like, that shows the quality for me of an elite wide receiver who gets overshadowed by DK because just by his body mass.
It's DK Metcalf.
Yep. So, and by any other receiver in the league. Like, honestly, the work that man does is so underrated. He is a smaller version of Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin will never get the credit except for in Seahawks circles, he will never get the credit for what he did for Russell Wilson in his early years. And Tyler Lockett will never get the credit for what he done for Russ and what he's doing for Geno now.
And do you know who is getting credit though? Because I'm going to bring him in now, Ken Walker. I'm going to make a little comparison here. Don't. Before I say this, don't think I'm comparing him to this man in terms of what he's achieved in his career yet, because I'm not. But when I watch Ken Walker, and hear me out on this, I just see Marshall Faulk. When I watch Marshall Faulk highlights, I see Ken Walker. Now let me explain this. Marshall Faulk, 5'10", Ken Walker is 5'9". They're both exactly 211 pounds. And if you watch the way they both of them run, Marshall Faulk, expert at toeing the ground, turned on a dime, small but powerful speed, finding the gaps. He found the holes in the defense brilliantly, patient running, and he was a master of getting into the open field and finding the open field. What do I see from Ken Walker? Patient running, toes in the ground, turns on a dime, so hard to tackle in the open field. He knows where the open field is. Even though he didn't break one massive one off against the Giants, there was one or two, those shoestring tackles where if it wasn't made, he was off. He was off again. And you can see, so I'm not saying he's Marshall Faulk in terms of the career, or he'll have a career like Marshall Faulk. I'm not saying that. But if you want to watch a back and compare him to a back in NFL history, a top level back that Ken Walker could potentially try and emulate, he is Marshall Faulk all over, in my opinion. And that touchdown run, I mean, he was dead to right. He was going to the right. Like that play, when I look at running backs coming out of college, or look at it, or when I'm not saying evaluate like I'm a scout, but when I'm looking at running backs, I don't particularly care about the speed, don't particularly care about the hands or block or whatever like that. In terms of a running back, I want to see from a running back when I'm looking at him, and I saw it in Ken Walker coming out of college, can a running back make a play out of a play that is dead? Can he bring back to life a play that is dead and busted? Ken Walker on that play was dead. That play was busted. He was going to the right. There was 3 Giants players already through our offensive line coming bearing down on him. He goes, right, I'll stick my tippy toes in the ground, turn on a sixpence, and head to the other corner of the end zone. Then breaks another 3 tackles. He's in. That play shouldn't have happened, but it was Ken Walker, and it did happen because he's got that unique Marshall Faulk-esque skill set, in my opinion. I love this kid. Pez Josh, please. I mean, 51 yards, but it could have been 501 yards. I'd have raved about him as much as I am now if it was the same. I mean, the kid's unbelievable, isn't he?
I'll go before Pez has his gush fest. So, Ken
I don't
Walker,
think I need to.
You're still going to. We all know it. Anyone who's listened to this pod before is just going to sit there and just clap. Ken Walker now is tied with 3 teams in the NFL for, is it 420? Is it 20 plus yard touchdowns?
Yeah.
Like that's a rookie. I was watching that play and I thought, oh God, he's run straight into all the coverage. He's going to collapse that side of the O line, and for him to have the savvy, the nous to go, I'll try the other way, and it wasn't an easy TD by going the other way by any means. It was so impressive. I won't dissect the whole place. I know Pez wants to do it. I mean, Ken Walker, we have found an absolute gem there, and it's very rare, I swear, on this podcast. But for all of those people who said, "Why'd you take a running back in the second round?" Fuck you. Fuck you.
Well,
That's why.
hey, we've got an F-bomb out of Josh.
That is why. There's a reason why you draft special players so highly. There's a reason why our draft class shaped up the way it was. We were lucky to have people fall where they were, but when you have a player of Ken Walker's caliber, and I know people get on sort of Pez's back on Twitter and they like to chat to us on Instagram and about Ken Walker and why he shouldn't have been there or he was injury prone. I think I put something on our TikTok, and it was about some guy saying that he was injury prone, he didn't have a receiving profile, and there's about 20 comments on this of people going, "Yeah, well, he was true, he was right." I was like, doesn't matter. Look at his special talent with his feet. Look at what he does as a running back. Your primary objective is that. It's in the name. It's Ronsil. What it says in the tin. You are a running back, not a receiving back, not a Christian McCaffrey freak will throw a touchdown, receive a touchdown, and run for a touchdown. Yeah. Ridiculous that the hat trick there. But if you're a running back and you've got someone like Ken Walker and you see what he does running with the ball in hand, you are going to take him if he's available. And we did, and I'm so glad we did. Pez, absolutely. I will mute my mic. I will sip my beer and allow you to go, sir.
Do you know what, guys? I think you've done my job for me tonight. You really have. Like, I'm just sat here with a big
Hall of Famer.
Big smile on my face. But do you know what, James? I like the comparison.
Thank you.
But you're wrong.
Oh.
Because there's no one like Ken Walker.
Oh, there's no one like... Oh, he's flipped it.
By the time he's done, there will be no one like Ken Walker. So a couple of weeks ago, I said the thing I love about him is not his big splashy plays. It's games like this. Proved exactly what I meant. Last week, I said he beat Saquon statistically and proved that not only is he the best rookie running back, even if Breece Hall was still fit, I think Ken will literally eclipse him because our team is a lot better suited to Ken than the Jets are to Breece as the season progressed. But that's by the by. He beat Saquon to prove that he's not just a rookie, but he's one of the top 10 running backs in the league. Like, that's where this kid is now. He is, like, all the stats you've just read. You're talking top 5 RB numbers here. What a lot of people need to separate is fantasy football running backs and actual running backs. Like, what Josh was saying, it is people get a bit too obsessed with fantasy and don't remember what the league's all about. Like, Nick Chubb don't catch the ball, but he's the best running back in football. Statistically, he's the best running back in football. Like, and he just runs the fucking football because that's what his job is, what Josh said. But this game, I loved because he was getting beaten, he was getting trodden, and if anyone thought any better, then you clearly just aren't reading the stats. The Giants are great at stopping running backs. It was going to be a hard night. The fact that he statistically pretty much matched up to Saquon, and with everything that Saquon's been doing this year, that just shows where this kid is already. And what's this? Third actual full start? Fourth actual full start?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't get disheartened. Like, again, like I said about wide receivers, some running backs would give it in. Some running backs wouldn't run as hard. Some running backs wouldn't do what Ken did. And that's why he's so special. Obviously, there's not a Seahawks fan who ever had a tweet out there about him draft night. They're quickly deleting that. The shoestring tackle. That was he was gone.
Oh, he was gone.
Yeah, he was gone. And the defender knew it because the defender got up and laughed. Like a nervous laughter is like, if I fuck that tackle up, oh man, that would be messed up.
It was a, I did it, thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God for that. Then that touchdown, man. The best part of that whole touchdown, Josh alluded to it, DK Metcalf. That was
Took that corner for a walk, didn't he?
sensational behaviour, what he did. But do you know what? And we've said it previously, and like we said before about this team, if that was a Russell Wilson Seahawks, DK Metcalf would never do that.
No.
But because they're all bought in, and I think with DK, it's his new leadership role. Like I said in the pre-season, I think you're going to see a completely different player in DK because now he's been given more. You put more on his shoulders, the guy thrives. And he witnessed what happened. Literally, I watched behind the end zone view. As soon as Ken had literally just put his toe in the ground to go back DK's way, DK stutter-stepped, made his defender second guess and ran. Like synchronicity on point. Because if he left it any longer, that defender would have seen what Ken was doing. But as soon as Ken pivot stepped back the other way, DK then played him like a fiddle and got him off. Like, fucking sensational play. Sensational off the ball play. Got a stat here. So you were saying about how the play was dead. 9 players in the box.
Unbelievable.
9 players in the box. And so I said it in our chat. He was clearly meant to run straight through the middle because Charles Cross was his blocker. He got through to the second level and was like, where the fuck is he? Oh, he's in the end zone over there. Quick, I'm going to try and run over and help him if I can. Not getting to him. Like, not getting to him 1 second, but you saw what the play design was because Charles did his job to perfection. The other elements of the O-line broke down, smothered the box. And to do that, again, just shows. People are saying top 10 running back. Carries on the way he's going, easily top 5. I will call it right now, seeing as we're chucking predictions out. He carries on like this, he'll be in the top 100 for next season.
I mean, it
He'll
must be hard to
straight in
ignore.
there.
Yeah.
Based on the way the Seahawks are playing this season, I would say that we'll see at least 2 of our rookies in that top 100.
I think that's a
Tariq?
decent cut. Well, Tariq's surely in there already.
Tariq's definitely going to be in there for what he's done. I think Walker, even if he doesn't carry this jet, just carries on. He's in there. And Kobe Bryant carries on peanut punching and gets a few picks by the end of the year. He'll be in there. He might be 90 to 100, but
we're overlooking my boys.
Yeah, the offensive line's playing well. Abe Lucas could be in there as well. But
do you know what? I'll call it now. Abe Lucas will be higher than Charles Cross.
Yeah.
He's dominating his side of the field. But on to Ken. So a stat for you here is Ken has 5 rushing touchdowns and 4 of them have all been in the fourth quarter. Geno Smith said something. Geno Smith said in his presser, literally just before that play happened, he turned around to Ken and said, do you know what the elite running backs do? They take the bull by the horns and they go and win it in the fourth quarter for the team. You're that guy. Go and prove that you're that guy. Literally, the play after, he fucking just destroyed all of them. The kid, I'm telling you now, Brees Hall was still fucking playing. Ken is better. Ken is better. It's lucky for him he's actually missing the rest of the season because everyone will be saying by the end of it, Ken should have been drafted over him. Simple. Simple. He's a fucking beast.
He is an absolute monster, and I just can't wait to watch Ken Walker in a Seahawks uniform for a long, long time to come.
I'd sign him now. Give him a new contract now.
Get him off his rookie deal.
Now. Yeah, just get him off it now.
And the keys to Ken Walker. Shout out.
I'll hand my house keys to Ken.
I'm sure he'd love that, Pez.
If you want a house in Preston, fucking Kenneth, come down whenever you want, mate.
Dog included, or?
Oh yeah, definitely take that.
Dog and wife are part of the parcel. That's
the wife, yeah, part of the package.
That's the package.
Nice. I'm sure that's him sold. Shout out to the special teams because they're coming up good as well. Will Disley, nice hit as well, nice recovery as well.
Disley forced a fumble and recovered a fumble.
Yeah.
That is why he's the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week that we just put on
our
Instagram.
To get it in there.
There you go.
See,
good hit
Disley,
from Travis Homer as well on the second one.
We have got, and special teams is something that I've tried to focus on just watching over the last couple of years, because Pete puts a massive impetus on special teams, and I never quite got it. I thought it was all special teams, they're in the squad, let's just give them a bit of game time. But there seems to actually be, there's not even seems, there is a method to Pete's madness with this. It's Pete has people in the special teams that can all do a job. He has his runners, his gunners, he has those people that can tackle hard. We've already said Travis Homer, this isn't his final form. He as soon as Nick Ballore retires, Travis Homer will become an incumbent fullback.
Mm-hmm.
That is my prediction going forward, because I think he has the skill set to do it. He can run, he can catch. He's the best blocking running back we've got. Why not? But Joey Blount at the moment is being touted by every member of the Seahawks organization as being an exceptional talent, and we picked him up as a free agent. He was highly touted coming out of Virginia. He was unlucky not to get drafted. I think he had an injury or something, I can't remember. And now he's proving it. He's coming, he's hungry. You see him on the sideline. He's constantly pumping people up. He comes up with plays. He's now going for those safety snaps. They want to get him on the ball more. And because we're playing less 2 linebacker packages, more 3 safety, he's going to get them. And if he carries on this trajectory, there's a solid chance that he will get more and more. He'll be sharing snaps with some of our established safeties, which I'm all about. I think he's been brilliant. Will Dissly, I thought he, in special teams, and you never really see him in special teams. He doesn't seem to show up. But on Sunday, he was chasing that ball down. He forced 1 fumble, then recovered the other one. And Will Dissly is rightfully getting the acknowledgement that he deserves. There's a reason we gave him the contract we did. We said about this on the last pod. And he's starting to show up now. He showed up with his receiving yards as a tight end, and now he's showed up on special teams as well. More power to him. Uncle Will, you carry on rocking that Ned Flanders mustache. You absolute hero.
Absolute hero.
Do you know this? I've got as the tweet said, in the weird stat department. The Seahawks have forced exactly 2 turnovers in 6 straight games, and now have forced 2 turnovers in 7 of their 8 games. That's weird. But I don't like doing it, and I don't like this comparison when people say it, because I believe stop comparing to the past and just start saying that these can be better than what they were. Like, stop going, oh, this is like 2012 and this, but it is hard to get away from, because one thing we had back then was special teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this special teams unit, again, to show just how this team is prepared to play for this team, wasn't Nick Ballore out, and that's why Dissly was doing special teams, because he was essentially replacing Nick Ballore.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just willing to play anywhere and do anything. And that Joey Blount, he got a lot of hype in training camp, didn't he?
Yeah.
And we spoke about him on here because he did some really nice things in game. So hopefully he can start, getting some game time.
Before we get to the defense, quick shout out to the Take 12 podcast, Lothar and Brett Davin. Obviously, we've been advertising their package trip to Germany for about a month now on this podcast, since they contacted us and asking us for help to help sell the tickets. Well, they've done that. They've sold out their ultimate fan experience, which included match tickets to the Buccaneers and Seahawks game. But fear not, they are still offering a party with the pros package. Pretty much everything involved in the ultimate fan experience, just unfortunately without the match tickets. But if you already have match tickets and you're looking for something to do during the weekend in Germany, or if you're just looking to be in Germany to soak up the environment and the feel-good vibes of the Seahawks going to Germany and the NFL going to Germany for the first time, then there isn't much of a better package to go and do it with than this one. £489, but with the code WeTalk12 at checkout, you will get 12% off that. So I'm not going to do the maths, because there's a reason why I didn't take that at university. You can do that yourselves. But basically, it'll save you some money. But let's get to the defense. There is only one place to start. For me, anyway. I know you mentioned Ryan Neal and we'll definitely get onto him as well. But as we'd like to start from the defensive line and work our way back, on this defensive line, there's only one place to start. For me, Uchenna Nwosu, 2
What
sacks.
a boy.
What a boy. Called it at the start of the season. I really liked the signing. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say that I predicted him to be playing this well. I think he's an underrated player. He's playing well in the NFL for the Chargers. I like the look of him for the money that we paid for him. And now he's sitting here, 5 sacks. I mean, I know that just 2 sacks before, but he's just so explosive off that line. He's exactly what the Seahawks defense is needing. The mold. He fits the kind of the philosophy of the young, bringing in young defensive players to fit this 3-4 defense. These versatile players, and he's just a Swiss Army knife. You can line him up anywhere. Drop him back in coverage, put him on the line of scrimmage as an edge rusher. You can do anything with him. And again, as we've talked about Austin Blythe being a leader on the defense, I don't know if you've watched any of the mic'd up series of Uchenna Nwosu as well,
Yep.
And just listening to him on the general mic'd up videos and the all access videos. But you can tell this guy's a leader as well. I mean, the one against the Chargers was fascinating. He was absolutely loving that game against the Chargers, and the game ball was dedicated to him after the game. But yeah, man, I mean, he's just so special as well. I can't, for my money, recall a defensive free agent signing anywhere in the past few years coming in and making more of an impact than Uchenna Nwosu has for the Seahawks. The guy's just making plays every single game, whether it's sacks, strips, tackles for loss. He's doing something and putting something on film every single game. But we'll run through the sack totals. So obviously Uchenna Nwosu with 2. We've got Cody Barton with a sack as well. Puna Ford with another sack. Again, big shout out to Puna because we called him out, or I called him out on this podcast. And again, another one turning the corner now, as they all are. Boye Mafe, rookie, continuing to impress. A rookie that's perhaps being lost. Yeah, his name's perhaps being lost a little bit in sort of the discussion amongst our rookies with Kobe and Tariq and Ken and Lucas and Cross. But Boye Mafe is quietly playing very, very well in his rookie year as well. And I'm a little bit disappointed, by the way, just before I come to you, Pez, I'm a little bit disappointed that Bruce Irvin hasn't been given a sack for that manhandling of Saquon Barkley. Yeah. Throwing him into Daniel. I mean, that's got to be a sack. How was that? It was
Daniel Jones into Saquon.
Daniel Jones into Saquon. Yeah.
Now, I'm in 2 minds of that. Was that savvy veteran play, or was that Bruce Irvin just desperately trying to get to the runner, but unfortunately Daniel Jones was in the way? So it's like, I'll just go through you to get to him. Either way, it worked.
You know, I think it was a savvy play because he didn't it didn't look like he bulldozed into him. He looked like he intentionally put his shoulder. Yeah. He forced him back into it. It's almost like he read.
It was something out of a Marvel film, that wasn't it? He's going to be one of the next Avengers throwing people around like that. I mean, dearie me, you can't do that to Daniel Jones and say that's got to be a sack. But anyway, as aside from that, I think Bruce Irvin played very well on a side note as well. He should have had that definite sack on Daniel Jones, which unfortunately he missed, but it didn't really affect the drive. It didn't really matter in the end, but should have been a definite sack at least. But yeah, that play was pretty fun to watch. But this defensive line and this defense turn the corner, aren't they, Pez, now?
Yeah, just looking at the stats, interesting because the stats I've got up here doesn't have LJ Collier register and anything, but he had that batted pass down, didn't he?
It was a pass defense and he had a QB hit as well.
Yeah. So interesting. At the end of the day, he might not have done much. Interesting to see what his snap count was, if you could see that, Josh, if it tells you that, because I doubt he would have got many. But if he's getting a QB hit and getting his big palm up in the air with the limited time he's getting coming back off injury, you just got to maybe look out. Does this defense suit him more? You can shake your head, James, but the thing what you've got to understand, but the thing you've got to understand is this defensive line is the best defensive line clearly we have had for many a year.
Absolutely.
And LJ Collier might not be a first rounder, but anytime you've seen LJ Collier do anything was when he has solid players next to him. Look at the line. So you got cousin Nwosu, right? He's going to elevate everyone around him. because he is target number one. That's why Darryl Taylor is started seeing success. Then you talk about Puna. Now he's starting waking up. So they've not just got to think of Nwosu, they've got to think of straight through the middle. It's going to start leaving gaps, and a player like an LJ Collier, your boy Matthews, them kind of rotational players, I think they might start showing up a little bit more because your key veterans are getting the respect. Our defensive line never got the respect. You've got to admit that. They never got the respect. LJ Collier isn't a first-round talent. You can smugly smile all you want at me, James, but there is a point behind it. You've just got to wait and see. This is the best defensive line he's had, right?
I've been waiting. Been waiting and seeing for LJ Collier since he came to Seattle.
Tell me when we had a defensive line like this ever since LJ Collier.
Yeah, but that's not.
Tell me when.
No, but that's not a plus for LJ Collier. If I'm
playing,
plus for
I'm
D-line.
not saying it's a plus. I'm not saying it's a plus. Listen, stop being smug.
I'm getting it.
I'm saying he might be a decent rotational piece. Listen to the wording, not first teamer, first rounder. Good rotational piece on selective snaps who can get a QB hit, who can bat a ball down in a very key time because the players around him. You understand where I'm coming from. Rotational piece.
I'm not going to be hyped into LJ Collier. Put it that way.
Right. So we said this, or I said this at the start of the season about LJ Collier starting to find his feet, and this might be a break, not like breakout as in, oh my God, he's now going to be signed, but everyone wants him. But this might be a season where LJ Collier starts doing bits. I think this game proved, as Pez has just said, and I will 100% stick with you here, Pez. It's proved that LJ Collier can come into the rotation and do bits.
No, it hasn't.
He can't.
It hasn't. He's battered down one pass. He's battered down one pass.
A crucial pass on fourth down.
Yeah, like you can't say he does nothing. Like,
he doesn't do anything.
Fair play, right? The sun shines on the dog's ass once, like, you know. But it's. This could be the start. Let's just live in hope. Just because you have some intrinsic hatred for LJ Collier,
yeah, I do.
Right, just give it the fact that he batted down a crucial pass and he had one QB pressure for a man who I've not got the stats up here because it's a lot of effort for me to get up them at the moment, and I will do next time. Wasn't in the rotation that much this week. All right, I'd guarantee he was probably in the rotation for about 10 to 15 snaps max.
Good.
All right. But if that's what we're getting from him, then I'll take that because it's a building block. Even if it's a matter of someone is blowing out their hoop and you go, LJ, come in, field a couple of snaps, just see what you can do there. And he can put a QB pressure on, bat something down. I'm not expecting him to get 3 sacks a game. But if he's a rotational piece, what you have to think of in every team, think of it as a clock. You have your big cogs, your Nwosus, your Al Woods, your Shelby Harrises, and then you have those little cogs, the integral ones that keep the big ones working, because those big ones get tired because they're used a lot. These little cogs do less work, but still do stuff.
No, I love your reference. It's a beautiful, a lovely analogy, lovely worded. It's a fantastic analogy, but it falls down to the fact that you're tying it to LJ Collier. LJ Collier is not a cog that helps other people work. He's been anything but a cog that's helped anything spin and work and tick.
I will put this to you as a coach. I'll put this to you as a coach, right? Any player in any squad who is, in rugby terms, we call them bin juice. I've told you this before.
I call him that, yeah, as well.
Perpetual bag carrier, right? However, those players still help those ahead of them improve by being a walking tackle dummy, a bag carrier, someone for someone else to practice with. LJ Collier has been really unfortunate with injuries. His form has been well off. He's not been worth the draft pick we spent. I will give you that. But if he can come in and he has that amount of raw talent where he can actually do something besides being a revolving door on the D-line, I'm happy because that is his role. He is not a superstar. He's not going to do anything else. All he's got to do is try and get to the QB and not let someone run past him.
Fine. If he's not on the injury report next week, I'll be happy. Put it that way.
Okay, cool.
Lads, I love the fact that I've took you two down the rabbit hole for about 10 minutes.
Cheers, mate.
Aljo Collier, fucking class.
Yeah,
cheers.
You're getting so good at this, Pez.
So anyway, I'll get us out of it. Them linebackers were quiet, weren't they? Surprising, Jordan Brooks isn't at top of the not far, just 2 tackles off, but not at the top of the list for once. That must excite you, Josh.
Well, because the D-line actually did its job.
Yeah, because the D-line did its job.
weirdly, and I know people may look at us as British podcasters who, in inverted commas, know nothing about American football. However, the principles of a contact sport based on positions and your role within that position is pretty universal. If your job is to do something and you don't do it, it means the person behind you fulfilling that secondary job has to do it more. In this case, our D-line showed up and showed out. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
Saquon couldn't get moving. We put pressure on Daniel Jones. It just all angles of it. And Nwosu, and I said this like off air. He's slowly and surely becoming one of my favourite players. The man doesn't look like he should be able to move like that, because if you look at him at the top, he's pretty barrel-esque. You know, he's not like shredded or anything like that. But the dude can move. The dude can shed blockers. He has got all the tools you want and need for someone to do that. And as Pez has quite rightly said, because of what he's doing, it is elevating the rest of that D-line. Not taking away Al Woods being an absolute machine. Shelby Harris finally finding his feet now.
Yeah.
And he said in a presser that, well, it's in a press, just an interview, this is the best football he's played of his career. And he is not going to let that go.
Best record he's had in his career.
And Puna has started showing up as well. And we slated him a couple of weeks ago saying he wasn't doing enough. They're
all going out for steak. They're all going out for steak dinners with each other.
You can have prime rib. I do not care. Because if it means that our linebackers are able to cover their part of the field without having to make these tackles, I'm happy with that. Because it means that we aren't letting teams run through us for over 100 yards per game. I mean, Daniel Jones the other week had over 100 rushing yards as a QB. There is no way on God's green earth he was getting that this game. What did he have? 20. Saquon had 53. They had a total of 78 rushing yards. And that all starts up front.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to jump in there, seeing as we're talking about people we slated. Because if the linebackers really, I watched the second half, but they didn't really do much, to be honest. But from what I saw. So I'd just like to personally take us into the secondary. Take your job off you, James. You put your feet up, go and get yourself a brew. Because I want to talk about Michael Jackson. Because I was the one who slated him last week. I kind of slated him last week, saying I want him to prove it. And for me, did he prove it? He listened. The Seahawks listen to our podcast. All we need to do is slate a player, and you better put your house on it. They're going to go off the week after, because Jesus led the team in tackles. Because as James rightly said, what I'm guessing he's probably got in his notes what he wants to go on to is they just literally stayed away from Tariq Woolen.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, right. And what I said, I literally said it. So Daniel Jones listens to my podcast as well. Because my podcast, fucking hell, I'm getting James, take it back. I'm getting to it myself. Because he just targeted Michael Jackson and he just dealt with it. 4 passes defense, 7 tackles, 7 solo tackles. He just locked that shit down. And I was just, that's what I want to see. And we're all talking about Trey Brown this and Trey Brown that. Trey Brown's going to be very, very hard to beat him out. After that performance, he's going to struggle to get his job back, because that was a starting, I'm here to stay performance. You want to doubt me? Here you go. Have some juice.
We waved Sidney Rice because of this.
Sidney Rice?
Sidney Jones.
He's doing well, isn't he?
Oh, my God.
Blast from the past.
Sorry. But we waived Sidney Jones because of this, and you got to think by the end of last season, Sidney Jones was a starting cornerback for us. But Mike Jack has obviously come in. The guys love him. Like they're always talking about how well he's done, and he showed this game that he can be the Kobe Bryant to Tariq Woolen's Sauce Gardner. If you're not going to throw at Tariq for fear he's going to intercept it, and you're going to keep throwing at Mike Jackson, crack on if he plays like that. Again, though, with Mike Jackson, I am going to give it my usual, give me some consistency, and I will praise him properly. It was a great game from him, but I'm not going to say this is him for the season. I want consistency because he started high, then had that dip, and we can't have somebody peaks and troughs. We need someone who maintains a decent level.
Yeah,
so totally agree.
Like I say, it targeted 11 times, but 3 pass breakups, allowing just 5 completions for less than 35 yards, no touchdowns, 52.8 passer rating, and only 6 combined yards after the catch for Michael Jackson. I think that was, for me, that was his best performance so far the regular season. So that's a really bright spark. Again, waving Sidney Jones, potentially hinting at maybe Trey Brown being just about ready to come back now as well, if they're comfortable waving him at this point. But yeah, we'll move on to the other guy whilst we're on the secondary, who we have to talk about. And if we're talking about signing Geno Smith up ASAP, let's tie Ryan Neal down, shall we, as well? Because my goodness me, that guy is balling. He's a restricted free agent for 2023. We've only got him under contract for this year. Sign him up. Do not let him even test that free agency market, because I know he went out the game and I know he cramped up and potentially maybe got to watch,
You'd cramp up if you did that much work as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think he was on 3 hours sleep and IV fluids for the Chargers game. He was cramping up all game against the Giants, and yet still the man is an absolute again. But thank God we've got a Ryan up, because he's doing what I think Jamal Adams could be doing. You take away Jamal Adams, you put Ryan Neal in there, line of scrimmage, tackles for loss, but then he's just as good in coverage. I mean, sign him up.
Ryan Neal is fulfilling the role in defense that they had in mind for Jamal. It took him a few games because they were starting, was it Josh Jones?
Josh Jones,
who it's just been
Ryan
proven that he's
remember.
not quite there. Yeah. So Ryan Neal has come in, and bear in mind, a few years ago, this guy thought he was washed up in the league. He's come into Seattle. We gave him the chance, and he's balling out every time. We've said this multiple times on this pod. Every time he comes on and plays, he does something of note. Yep. You always seem to go, Ryan Neal did this at every single game. And he's proven it more and more. The more game time he's getting, the better he's getting. The more he's understanding this role. Six total tackles, all 6 of them solo, 2 tackles for loss. Great in coverage. The man has just been brilliant. And I was a big fan of Rhino last season. I thought when he came in and started actually showing what he could do, he balled out. And he's doing the exact same thing this year. I think it's when you've got, with Adams, he's obviously the focal point in that strong safety position, but he's unreliable. When you've got someone like Ryan Neal, but if Adams gets injured again, if he breaks something else and ends up with another wangy finger, Ryan Neal can step in and he can fulfill that role with aplomb. And he is doing so. He's endearing himself so much to the people of Seattle that the organization at some point needs to take a look at him and go, there's got to be an extension. We've got to find money for this man somewhere, because you can't rely on Jamal to stay fit.
They've got the money.
Exactly.
They've got the money. And we talked about as well. We talked about on the pod about potentially, do we need a draft to safety, because will we get rid of Jamal? Quandre is not playing particularly well this season, and then Josh Jones' performances have been subpar. He doesn't look like a starter in the NFL. So do we need it? If we sign up Ryan Neal, obviously you keep Quandre Diggs. What is he under contract for another 3 years? I think they signed a 4-year contract. Do whatever you want to do with Jamal, but Ryan Neal, if you sign him up for another couple of years, you take the pressure off needing to burn a high first-round pick or a second-round pick or whatever on a safety and spend it elsewhere, because Why would you let Ryan Neal even test the free agent market at this point? Just sign him up. He's not going to cost loads. He loves it in Seattle. Where the team that's given him his first proper real shot, it just makes too much sense. Sign him up. Don't even let him test that free agent market. And then let's get to these corners. Go on, Pez. Sorry.
I'll tell you what's going to happen with Jamal. They're going to, if Ryan Neal carries on the way he's going, they'll get rid of Jamal.
It's an interesting one.
So what? Like lost the picks. They've lost the picks, but they've got the picks back from Russ. They've lost them. Sound didn't work out. Like never really been injured before he came to Seattle. Just didn't work out. Why keep him around when you've got Ryan Neal? You don't need him. I've said in the past he's a cheap man, Jamal. But again, another person who clearly listens to our podcast because he gets better week in, week out.
Yeah.
He isn't really your cheap, your poor man's Jamal. Because he is the focal point of that defense. What I said before, Joey Blunt, if anything, they need to find a safety who's a good enough standard to maybe give him a breather. Because Quandre Diggs, in my opinion, the way it's going at the moment, Quandre Diggs, not taking anything away from him, the experience, the quality of the player, but Ryan Neal seems to be the leader of that secondary. He is doing everything. I know they won't see it like that. They'll see it as like how Cam and Earl saw it. They're just a in-sync partnership kind of way. But I'm telling you now, Ryan Neal carries on the way they're going. They'll get him signed up, and then they'll look at anyone who would take Jamal on. Get rid of his contract. Get rid of him. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Love Jamal as a player. Could you imagine what Jamal would have been like playing how Ryan Neal's playing?
Yeah.
But another thing, what I'd say on Ryan Neal, he's a DJ Dallas. He gets better as every year goes on. What was it last year? Everyone slated him. Nah, don't sign. What in the preseason? Don't sign Ryan Neal back. There's no point. His coverage skills just aren't good enough for what we want. Coverage skills aren't good enough. But then, when you make him the focal point of your defense, you realize his coverage skills actually are fucking good. He's actually improved, and he runs round free and just smashes everyone. Like.
He needs to be tied down, doesn't he?
He's the dominating force in that secondary. He is. Take away your Tariq Woolens, your Quandres, your Kobe's, your Mike Jacksons. Ryan Neal is the guy.
Yeah.
Tariq might be the new hot stuff, but Ryan Neal is the guy, and everyone needs to realise that if they don't already.
Oh, Tariq Woolen is the hot stuff, Pez. We've established this. He is the hot stuff. And now not being targeted as much because he is the hot stuff. Him and Kobe Bryant for that matter. But I think noticeably it's been with Tariq Woolen over the past 2 weeks. Obviously no interceptions, but teams, you can just see it. Teams and quarterbacks are frightened to throw the ball Tariq's way. They tried it once or twice. They tried it on Wan'Dale Robinson. Tariq with the excellent coverage on the breakup going down to the turf. And then he got that sort of unfortunate one on Darius Slayton where it was kind of like in his hand, then not in his hands, and Slayton took it away. And it great coverage from he was right there. It's just a weird play that sometimes happens. Don't think you can particularly put that on Tariq. But I think you can just see, I mean, between Herbert and Daniel Jones, you're starting to see now quarterbacks and offensive play callers saying, do not throw to that side unless something's open, unless there's a busted coverage. Do not consistently test that number 27 because he will pick you off. And I think people might start, it's just a thing to keep in mind if people start sort of getting a little bit concerned, or where's Tariq's interceptions gone? Is he falling off? People have completely figured him out. No, people haven't figured him out. People
look at his targets.
People are just not going to throw his way anymore. It's not because the kid's fallen off or everyone's suddenly figured him out now. Quarterbacks are not going to repeatedly test this guy anymore. But I still think he's got a chance at Richard Sherman's 8 interceptions record. I wouldn't write that off yet, but we'll see because quarterbacks are quaking in their boots. So any word on the cornerbacks, Josh, other than Mike Jackson, the rookies?
I think you hit the nail on the head with it. I think the people are probably going to start looking at Woolen again. We're going, where's his stats gone? But again, you look at how many times he's targeted. The only time a QB is going to target someone like Woolen, maybe next week when he's up against D-Hop, and that'll be a real test. But
Yeah,
that'll be an interesting test for everyone to see. And it's going to take an elite wide receiver with elite speed, elite hands, and route running for a QB to have any kind of faith in their receiver to get the ball over him. I mean, there's not much you can say. I mean, Kobe as well. I think Kobe's just the tandem of Kobe and Tariq is just working. It's working so well. I mean, what Kobe was like 5 solo tackles this game. He's not
as well.
He did.
Anyway.
Yeah, he did. And this is it. I think these 2 players are just coming into their own. Tariq's now proven as a complete wild card. We chucked him in there at the deep end, and he's proven that he can do it. Kobe, as Pez has said time and time again, is such a cerebral player that every time he plays, he learns something and he gets better. I wouldn't be surprised to see if more and more QBs start to target Mike Jackson more and more to see what he's made of and see if he can keep producing numbers like he did in this game, because they won't throw it to Woolen. The only issue I'm going to have with that is that might mean that you get Kobe having to play over at Mike Jack's side as well, which would leave Woolen on a one-on-one. But again, that'll be the making of him. If he can cover these elite receivers one-on-one, fair play to the lad. I don't think we can say a lot more about our cornerback room at the moment. I want to see Trey Brown back, because I've said time and time again, I just want to see DBs that can hit and people are afraid to run at. But at the moment, like I said, he's going to have a hard job displacing Mike Jackson.
Yeah.
And also, can we just mention Mike Jackson's cleats for the game had Michael Jackson on them?
Did they? I didn't know.
They did. They had a Michael Jackson moonwalking on his cleats. Now, if that is not someone who has gone, you know what, people take the piss out of my name all the time. I'll roll with that. Say,
if you've got a name like that, you may as well buy in. If you can't beat them, join them.
Tariq Woolen did it again last week, and I said there's something I want to see from him. I want to see that one-on-one. I want to see him in pure coverage, not like him getting beat and chasing him down. I want to see him go toe for toe. He did it last week and locked it all down, and he did it again this week a couple of times. Daniel Jones went his way, and I know the Giants receivers aren't the best, but he just locked it down one-on-one. And D-Hop loves... What side does he play? He plays solely on the right, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Is it the right? He has a position where he only does he like slot right, outside right. That the right side of the field is his. I'm going to say now, I'm going to save it for positive Pez. It's something I'm.
You save for the positive Pez.
Just is it the right? Because I remember that. Remember the Hail Mary bomb that
to the left,
Kyler threw. It was the left, wasn't it? So if he's the left, then that means it's going to be him versus Tariq.
Bring it on.
Well, even if it isn't, I'll save it for positive Pez. I've got something.
Right. All right. Well, before we get to the community questions and positive Pez, Josh, do you want to shout out our longest-standing sponsor, Blessed CBD?
I do. Blessed CBD have just come through with a big order for myself. I got some CBD gummies and CBD tincture for me. I simply went on blessedcbd.co.uk and selected what I wanted. They had a nice little offer going for mine. And I just used the code Seahawk at the end, and I got 10% off. It was lovely, and it also means that I've now got my CBD fix for the month, and my wife has her CBD fix for the month, which hopefully, well, I say hopefully, I know it helps with anxiety, it helps with her sleeping. It's going to help me with my recovery from my spinal cord injury, which is a constant thing. Please go ahead. Everyone that is repeated their orders as well. Thank you so much for helping the pod out. As you may see or may hear, Pez is a bit clearer. We're trying to get that mic refined, and it will work at some point. But yeah, it's a massive help to us. And if you really have any questions, feel free to message us on our Insta. Feel free, go on the FAQ section of Blessed CBD. It's on blessedcbd.co.uk. Code Seahawk, 10% off your order. And they're currently running some fantastic offers if you become a member as well.
There you go. Code Seahawk, 10% off. It is as simple as that. So thank you very much for all of you who have already done so. Right, let's stick to these community questions. Have we got any in, lads, tonight?
We have got a few, actually. Because we've had so many, I think we need to limit it to one question per person, though.
Let's go with that.
I will start with our good friend Saiwa Shearer, who is a constant listener and always ready to give us a good question. Weirdly enough, I just want to shout him out. He said, appreciation for the defense. Mike Jackson had something magical in his cleats and on his cleats, I'm going to say. What do we feel made him so effective in the Giants game?
Tough one. I mean, like we said, the spotlight was on Mike because Tariq isn't going to get targeted much anymore. And I think it's that potential knowledge of perhaps that he realised and he's seen that the Seahawks, right, they've waived Sidney Jones. They're comfortable with the depth at the minute. He knows that Trey Brown is in the pipeline coming back. At this point, Mike Jackson is still playing for his role on this defense, in my opinion. He's playing for his role on this. He's going to, I mean, whatever happens, he'll be on the team. But in terms of staying out on the field, getting the snaps, lining up at that number 2 cornerback spot, because like I say, you'd imagine Trey Brown will be right in there to take that spot from him when he does come back fully healthy. So Mike Jackson now needs to know that these next 2-3 weeks, potentially before Trey Brown is ready to come back and play, are massive for his career at this point. In terms of playing in the NFL and playing regularly, if he can play well in these next couple of weeks, it'd be very hard to just come in and say, right, thanks, Mike Jack, but Trey Brown's back now, you're out kind of thing. So I think it's maybe that sort of added incentive, that added motivation to know, right, I really need to play well these next couple of weeks because this is my time this is my job advert. This is my time to show, right, Trey Brown's coming back, but I'm the man. He's going to have to take that job from me, rather than vice versa, rather than the other way around. So it's a tough one. It's an interesting one. That would be my answer. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on that.
I'll be very honest. My 2 cents is A, I think the defensive coaching and schemes helped him. B, I think he was fortunate to be playing a Giants team that don't have an out and out elite wide receiver on his side. I think that massively helped. You could go through this wide receiver room for the Giants and no one's going to make you go, I will sign him in fantasy. He's going to be fantastic. I reckon he might be an MVP. I think that was a big help for him. I think the fact that the defensive brain trust for the Seahawks probably schemed it to the point where they will have scouted who was on his side. So he knows the routes, he knows their moves, he knows the personnel. I think that would be it. Like I said, I'm very much I'm always a prove me wrong person in my personal life, my sporting life. I want him to prove me wrong because I'm saying that he's not great. He's good. But I want him to prove me wrong. If consistency is the key, if he can carry on doing this against better wide receivers, if it's all going to be a matter of consistency now. I think it was just well schemed and look to be coming up against a shoddy wide receiver room.
Well, I'll go for the next one because I've got it up in front of me. Luke from our Discord chat. Cheers for this question, Luke. At this point in time, what would be a successful season for us? Again, it's an adjusting of the goalposts, adjusting of the sights in this weird way because we're 5-3 and none of us expected to be here. And now, for me, I'm starting to get to that emotional state of, you know what, if we don't make the playoffs, I'm going to be quite disappointed because we're 5-3, we're playing so well, and even though it feels like we're potentially getting ahead of ourselves now, I feel like, we've done all this, we've proven all these people wrong in this first half of the season. If it does fall away and it does stop working out in the second half of the season, I'd be really disappointed. So I don't know. It's look. I'm not going to be disappointed if we don't make the playoffs in the same sense, because we've got 5 more wins than a lot of people had us winning all season already at this point anyway. But yeah, I mean, playing like the way we are, we're 5-3. We're 5-3 for a reason. We're no flukes at this moment in time. We're playing really well. We're playing like a real legit 5-3 team would be playing, and you have to say that at the minute we're playing like a playoff team, aren't we? So for me, it's Pete said it at the start of the season. We are still in playoff mode. We're not hitting reset, and I've got to give it to the guy. I'm now in the camp of, yeah, come on then, let's go for playoffs. And so that for me would be a successful season. But to be honest, we've already had a successful season. For me, we've already proven in lots of other ways, in the rookies, in the culture, in Geno Smith. There's been so many successes in this season already. But playoffs, why not?
You playoffs. Go on, give us a number. Win losses.
I mean, without looking at the schedule coming ahead off the top of my head, I mean, we can win 10 games this season.
Do you want the schedule?
No, we haven't got time for that. We haven't got time. But I'll
10,
just say
10-7.
I'll say we can win 5 more games between now and the end of the season. Easy. We can win at least 10 games this season.
At the end of the day, they've exceeded everyone's expectations. So fucking anything from this point is great. They're at exactly where we predicted them for the rest of the season. So they'd have to lose every single game for us to then basically be where we said they were going to be. So anything after this, and just a quick rattle off: Raiders, Panthers, Jets, Bucks, who aren't playing that well. Simple 4 wins there. Like, we're not losing every single game from now till the end of the season. So anything is a success. Anything is. Doesn't matter if you make the playoffs or not, because this team is growing somewhere. That's how I see it. So you said it, James, how you're starting to get that, you're starting to get that nervous energy. I'm loving this season because I don't get nervous about any of these games. I thought I would have by now, but I just don't. I'm just like, I just want to see what the end picture is. I'm not getting overexcited. Like Josh said, like I said, prove me wrong season. Even though it started off shoddy and everyone go over the top, and it's been good for the last 3 games, and everyone's getting over the top, everyone needs to chill out. There's still how many games left? We could absolutely fall off the face of the earth. We could go on a winning run to the end of the season, get number 1 seed, and get to the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, and it'll go to rat shit. Like,
I'm with you, Pez. Anything now,
you know what I mean?
from this point
you know
forward,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything from now, just don't. No, any other listeners, don't get ahead of yourselves. Just enjoy the ride. Don't do what we
Super
do.
Bowl. Sorry.
Don't do what we do every single year and get over the top excited of 3 wins. Let's just enjoy the ride for what it is. Just appreciate what this team is doing right now instead of thinking what they possibly can do. But if you really want me to pull my finger, we played a team who we're going to see in the Super Bowl at Christmas Eve. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Pez, I love you, mate. Have you got one last question before we get to positive, Pez, or is that it for the questions?
Yeah, my brother's chucked one in here quickly. Well, he's chucked in loads. I read it and it gives me a headache.
I like his defense one.
What? So I'll put it in my words because his words make 0 sense if I read them out. He's basically saying with Pete relinquishing control of the offense, that's pretty telling he is. Because, like everyone's saying, but do we feel like he's letting go of the defense and letting some of his, as we spoke in the past at the start of the season, is he letting his defensive coaching and assistants start taking the reins a little bit, and he's being a head coach and sitting back and taking all the credit?
For me, yeah. It's obvious. It doesn't look like Pete's defense. It doesn't look like Pete's offense. Yeah.
So for those of you on our Discord, Pez has pinned the link to it at the top of our Twitter, and it'll be reposted on our Insta. But Pez's brother Luca is the biggest hater of Pete's prevent defense you will ever hear or know in your life. He absolutely despises it, and I can see why, because it's just giving people those easy 5-7 yards every time. Now, the fact that in our Discord, in our group chat, he hardly said it over the last couple of games, says to me that Pete has gone, Clint, Sean, take it. I will dabble. I will nip in every now and again when I feel something's necessary. But I think that is, again, we use this word a lot, indicative of how the coaching setup has gone. And I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I called this at the start of the season that I think this is going to be the season where he finally releases the reins. He's got a coaching team around him that he has faith in now. And by elevating Clint Hurt, who could have been seen as a Pete guy because he was part of his staff before, but let's face it, Clint Hurt is a Clint Hurt guy. You're not going to argue with him. And having a defensive mastermind like Sean Desai come in as well, Pete has gone, you do you, and it is working on this 3-4 defense. The first few games of the season when we were getting used to it, you could tell that Pete every now and again went prevent. Let's just stop things going over the top. Let's just make sure we're safe. And it was annoying. Whereas now we're putting the pressure on the QB. The D line is disrupting everything. Our cornerbacks don't have to play prevent. They can play man and they can keep up with the guys. I think it says a lot. And I think personally, I think that Pete has loosened the reins and he's let his coaches and coordinators do what they want to do or what they need to do with little to no interference from him. The second part of that question that I think needs to be addressed, Pez, is Pete going to retire at the end of this season?
No.
I don't think so.
If we won the Super Bowl, he'd go.
Yeah, but I think James has said it before. He's a gambling addict. I think if he sees this team trending in the right way, he's got at least one more season to see where he can take it. He's got one more good draft class where he is going to try and find the pieces to fit into this team to make it a Super Bowl contender, and then he'll ride out next season and go from there. I think that's how I see it going, and that's what I'd do as a coach in his situation as well.
To be honest, I feel like for me, like everyone says, when Jody's allowed to sell the team in 2024, I think whether he wants to go or he doesn't want to go, depending where the team is at the time, I think he'll be gone by then. I think he'll go when Jody goes because the new owners might come in, depending where we are. Like for all you know, we could go Super Bowl, create like the new dynasty and shock everyone. But you'd imagine that the new owner will come in and just basically say, no, we want young. We want to have someone young and keep them for years and years and years and years. So I think the only way he goes this year is if he wins a Super Bowl. But
agreed.
Then what you said, gambling addict, he'll want that again.
Let's end with positive Pez, our favourite segment. Josh, are you ready? Positive
Pez. Positive Pez. Oh, we
fucked up positive. Yeah, we
about this.
Never mind.
No, that was perfect.
It started off really good.
No, you started off out and then you were good.
Oh, really? I thought we started off in time. And then,
no, you started out in time and then you came in time.
James,
that was good, guys.
We're going to have to more rehearsal meetings. We're off.
You're going to have to record it on your phone because I think this three-way lags.
It does. That's the experience.
It's always the way in a three-way. Someone's always falling behind.
Right, get on with it.
Right, the Cardinals, that little man's back. Oh, we love him. So, I think Kyler Murray is going to get sacked 6 times in this game. He's showing that he doesn't want to use his legs as much. He seems a bit hesitant to start running. The way this line's been playing, I think if he doesn't use his legs as much, I think they're just going to get to him and get to him and get to him. And then people will go, oh, but Pez, what about DeAndre Hopkins? Doesn't matter. Because like we were saying before, whether he's on the left or he's on the right, in my head, for some reason, I swear he solely stays on the right side. And if he does, I will not be surprised if you see Tariq move over and follow him. Like a Richard Sherman. Sherman used to always follow the wide receiver 1. And this game is going to elevate Tariq because he's going to get that you're our star corner and you're going to track DeAndre. And with that, because I'm just jumping into a big positive hole, he's going to lock him down because that's how Kyler's going to get set for 6 times. Doesn't trust Rondale Moore. He only really goes to DeAndre Hopkins in hope. Well, D-Hop loves to cause them flags, and Tariq's probably going to get a couple of flags for holding. It's going to happen. He's a master at doing it. But he's only going to do that because he's going to get frustrated because Tariq's just going to lock him down. And on top of that, because Tariq's locking him down, Kobe's going to get his first interception, what's not going to be taken away from him. Oh,
I like it.
And Ken Walker's going to go over 100 yards for his usual 2 touchdowns. One's going to be a passing touchdown. Ooh. Nice little to the outside. See you later, kids. Probably say he's going to make about 4 men miss, and then we're all going to explode with excitement.
Pez, you've nailed it once again. Everyone, write those down, take a note, because if there's any week, it'll be this week. Pez is going to get them right. Kobe Bryant, interception. Ken Walker with a receiving touchdown. Mate, I'm with you.
You want one little more before we go?
Why not?
Go on, give us another positive nugget.
If Nick Bellow's still out, it doesn't apply to Will Disley. It just moves to Noah Fant. One of our tight ends is going to lead us in receptions and touchdowns with 2. I'm going to go Noah Fant. Feel it.
Breakout game for Noah. Interesting.
He's had it coming. He's had it coming. He's been there. He looks really good. Just give him a little bit more time, guys. Let him just bed in with Geno a little bit. Boom. 2 touchdowns. Noah Fant. Fancy guys out there. Get him in your team. Please don't come at me.
You've heard it.
I've already dropped him.
He's already dropped him. He's not on the positive Pez bandwagon for Noah Fant. Oh well.
Bad time to drop him, Josh. Did you not hear? Positive Pez is on the loose.
Yep, there you go. Pez. Pick him back up, Josh. But no, look, thank you all, everyone, as always, for listening and tuning in with us. As always, we do really appreciate you listening with us. Yeah, man, thanks to these 2 boys, as always. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And yeah, man, could we keep this thing rolling? Another NFC West victory coming up, 2-0. Let's sweep these Cardinals, baby. Yeah, man, let's go Hawks, man.
Go Hawks.